In this orientation video, we will review our behavior expectations, our consequences for behavior violations, and our academic integrity policy. Our behavior expectations at VLA are very simple. You can remember them by VLA. Value your community, lead by example, and actively engage. But what does that actually look like in a virtual classroom? We can value our community by being respectful and appropriate in the chat, respecting other cultures, opinions, and viewpoints, and showing respect for other people's time. We can lead by example by being punctual to class or even early, preferably, checking Canvas email and IC daily, participating in breakout rooms and other classroom activities, and keeping our Chromebook charged and all of our materials for class ready. We can actively engage by responding when we're called on, using reactions when we're asked to, engaging in classroom activities like Pear Deck, Kahoots, and others, and staying in the meet for the duration of class, and of course, completing all of our class assignments and activities on time. For further examples of the behavior that we expect from you when you're interacting with us on your Google Meets, through email, through Canvas, at our in-person events, and others, you can access our full VLA behavior matrix by using your device's camera, pointing it at the QR code, and accessing the website. Now let's talk about behavior violations at VLA. Behavior violations at VLA fall into three categories: minor violations or level 1 violations, major violations or level 2 violations, and crisis violations or level 3 violations. Minor violations are the most common. These can include things like turning in class work late, occasional tardiness to class, off-task use of the chat, being on another website during class, going idle during class, and minor cheating like accidental plagiarism or cheating on a formative assignment. Major violations are things like repeated level 1 behaviors, bullying and harassment, major cheating like unauthorized AI use, cheating on summatives, using someone else's work, or having someone else complete your work, major disruption of class, or verbal aggression. Crisis level violations include things like physical aggression or fighting, threat to harm yourself or others, viewing or sharing pornographic content, sexual misconduct, stealing, drug or alcohol use, possessing weapons, or repeated plagiarism. The consequences for behavior violations at each of these levels is a bit different. For a minor violation, you may receive a warning or correction through GoGuardian from your teacher. Your teacher may close tabs on your device or lock your device temporarily. Your teacher may or may not contact your parent, depending on the minor violation. You may lose privileges or lose EOS points, or you may receive a brief timeout or be briefly removed from your Google meeting. Major violations automatically result in an office discipline referral, a call or a letter to your parent or guardian. They may result in a scheduled parent conference with your parent or guardian. You may be assigned a timeout from Google Meetings, and you may be assigned a consultation with our mental health staff. Crisis violations result in suspension. I'll talk about suspension in a minute. Maybe dismissal from the program, depending on the violation, and maybe law enforcement intervention if it's warranted, depending on the violation. If you are suspended at VLA, you may not attend Google Meetings for your classes, but you can still access Canvas during that time. One suspension will put you on probation for potential dismissal from the program. You may also not attend any extracurricular activities for the remainder of the current school year if you get suspended. No ambassadors, no clubs, no in-person events other than promotion or graduation celebrations, and you will receive an official Infinite Campus documentation that you have been suspended. The most common behavior violations that we see at VLA include no daily participation, which means not coming to your Google Meet or filling out the Google attendance form for that class, doing your assignments late, cheating in any form, which includes AI use, which is unauthorized, or sending your work to others, or using other people's work as your own, going idle during meetings or being on other websites during instruction, arriving late or leaving early, and inappropriate use of technology, including videos, pictures, or harassing messages. You can avoid these common violations by just remembering our simple behavior expectations: value your community, lead by example, and actively engage. We will now talk about our expectations surrounding academic integrity at VLA. To access our full policy on academic integrity, plagiarism, and AI use, please use your device's camera pointed at the QR code and go to the website. At VLA, we take plagiarism very seriously because we can't help you learn if you're turning in someone else's work as your own. Plagiarism is defined as using information from the internet, peers, or other resources as your own work. Examples of plagiarism could include copying and pasting from a Google search, sharing a Google Doc with peers and all submitting the same work, entering the prompt into an AI tool and using that answer as your own. Plagiarism happens in all subject areas, and your teachers are trained to spot it when it happens, so we need to avoid it and do our own work. There are consequences for plagiarism at VLA. Minor plagiarism is defined as accidental or minor plagiarism on formative assignments, forgetting to cite your sources, but you did your own work, or getting help from a friend when it wasn't permitted, and things like that. For minor plagiarism on your first offense, you will get an opportunity to redo that assignment, but only for 80% credit. Major plagiarism includes things like using someone else's answers, intentional or on purpose plagiarism, unauthorized use of AI, cheating on summatives, and sharing your work with others for them to use your answers as their own. Major cheating has bigger consequences. You can receive a permanent 0% on that assignment, and especially when that's a summative, that can have a major impact on your grade. A crisis level plagiarism violation includes repeated plagiarism offenses after multiple interventions from your teachers. And if you continue to plagiarize, you could be potentially up for suspension or dismissal from the program. At VLA, teachers are aware of and trained in the impact of generative AI in the classroom. AI tools can sometimes enhance student learning, but they can also sometimes hurt student learning if students are using these AI tools to cheat. VLA teachers will use the go, slow, no system to help students understand when it is okay for them to use some of these tools and how, and when it is not okay to use these tools and why. If a student uses AI in an unauthorized way on an assignment, that will be considered plagiarism and may be subject to the plagiarism consequences I outlined in the previous section. Some good rules of thumb for students regarding AI include: don't use AI unless your teacher specifically authorizes it. Always ask your teacher if it's okay if you're unsure. Always report to your teacher the ways in which you used AI. And then finally, turn in your assignments the way your teacher specifies. Like if your teacher requires that you use the document that they provide to do the work, make sure you're doing that to avoid any suspicion of unauthorized AI use. Because we are a virtual school and teachers can't walk around a physical classroom to help students or redirect them, we use a program called GoGuardian to privately communicate with students for help and redirection, and monitor online activity to keep our students on task and learning. At VLA, it is a behavior expectation that all students use a device that has GoGuardian enabled during the school day. All FCPS provided devices have this, so we suggest that all students use their Fayette County Public Schools issued Chromebook during the school day so that they can privately communicate with their instructors all day as needed. If a student is present in class but does not have GoGuardian active, student may face the following consequences. They could lose EOS points for not following behavior expectations, and if there is a proctored exam that day, they may not be permitted to take that exam until they have GoGuardian active. Even though it is an expectation that you are on a device that has GoGuardian, we would always rather you be in class than not be in class. So if your school-issued Chromebook is experiencing issues, inform your teachers that you may not be on GoGuardian that day. Call the Fayette County Public Schools Technology Help Desk to try to troubleshoot your Chromebook issues, and then use an alternate personal device if you have it to log into your classes that day. As always, if you have any further questions about our behavior expectations or consequences, you can review this video at any time, review the family handbook, or ask your teachers.